And let me tell you, I am glad that game week 24 is finally over. And here we are with players to buy and avoid for game week 25. Okay, so the first player I've gone for is Darwin Núñez, purely because I am absolutely terrified of the prospect of not owning him in double game week 25. His underlying numbers are absolutely ridiculous, and to me, it says that he's going to start a purple patch soon. He's got 1.06 expected returns per 90. It's second only in the Premier League to Haaland. He's obviously got his double in 25 against Palace and Wolves. Klopp said he had a shoulder injury towards the end of the Newcastle game. Apparently he sat on the bench for some of the game, but he didn't appear to be in too much pain. I think if it was a serious injury, he would have gone straight down the tunnel and wouldn't have ended up back on the bench. So he could well be fit for the Palace and Wolves games. Yeah, for me, I think he's had the goal he needs now to start his purple patch and properly hit form. And I think he's absolutely going to do that now. And yeah, the prospect of not owning him terrifies me, which is why I think he's a player you absolutely should be considering. It's going to be a Liverpool-themed video, I'm afraid, but that's because they've got the best fixtures in 25, in my opinion. So next up is obviously the Liverpool talisman, Mo Salah. He's now got 2 attacking returns in his last 2 Premier League games. I think, as I said with Núñez, the fixtures in 25 are great. He's a good captaincy shout, and when you look at the Draft Hound expected point stats, Salah leads the list. So he's the top player for expected points in game week 25, which suggests to me that he's going to be the best captain. And yeah, he's Liverpool's talisman, as I said, on the penalties, likely to play 90 minutes. And for me, Liverpool seem to have turned a bit of a corner. Big win in the Merseyside derby, and then again another big win at St James's Park. 2 big wins on the trot. Start building some confidence in that team, and they're scoring goals again. And for me, I think they're turning a corner, and Salah, best captain shout for game week 25, along with probably Saka. But he's absolutely a player you should be buying, especially if, like me, you've got Kevin De Bruyne in your team. I think a straight swap for Mo Salah to put the captain armband on him is a great move for game week 25. And then I'm going to divulge a little bit from the Liverpool theme, but go for Arsenal, another team with a double game week in 25. And for me, I really like the look of Zinchenko. Obviously, he's come off the goal against Aston Villa. I've been touting him up for weeks as the furthest forward and most advanced of all the Arsenal defenders, and for me, I think he's got the most chance of scoring or assisting in most games. I think as well, Kieran Tierney just doesn't seem to be with it in terms of the squad. I remember seeing the winner being celebrated that Arsenal scored, and Tierney, he hardly even celebrated it, which suggests to me that he's sort of being phased out of that team, and for me, also suggests that Zinchenko is absolutely nailed for Arsenal. And I think Leicester and Everton, whilst they haven't been as strong as they've looked previously defensively, I think are 2 fixtures that Arsenal could well keep a clean sheet in. And certainly Zinchenko could well get to the attacking returns. And yeah, just from watching the game and looking at his heat map there, it's quite clear to see that Zinchenko spends equal time in each half of the pitch. So 50% of his time in his own half and then 50% in the opposition side. So he's the most further forward attacking a player of that Arsenal defence. And for me, he's absolutely a buy for game week 25. And then another Liverpool player here, but I'm going for Alexander-Arnold. I think this is going to be a transfer in that I'm making, given I can only start 2 defenders at the moment in my team. So I think I'm absolutely going to have to bring this guy in. He's got 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games for Liverpool against Everton and Newcastle. And I think they've turned a bit of a corner defensively. They're definitely giving up chances, no question about it. Newcastle could have had a couple of goals in that game. But I feel like even last season, when Liverpool were considered to be a good defence, they were still conceding a lot of chances. But in a way, they kind of just rely on Alisson and his quality to make saves. They almost concede shots and chances with the expectation that Alisson's going to make saves. And that's certainly what I think happened in the Newcastle game. And yeah, when you look at the clean sheet odds just hovering above the actual player image there, 42% against Palace and then 56% against Wolves. I think you're looking at 1 or 2 clean sheets across game week 25. He's on 0.34 expected returns per 90, which I still think, bar maybe Perisic, is the highest for any defender in the game. So that means 1 out of 3 games, he's basically going to get an attacking return in. And yeah, I think he's nailed to play. Doesn't appear to be any competition for his position. And actually, I think that's had a detriment to him. That's why he's been quite poor defensively this season, because quite simply, he's going to start every game with no competition. But that's a good thing in FPL. Not having to worry about a player being benched. Trent Alexander-Arnold is your man. And yeah, onto a bit more of a negative one here. It's just the Newcastle defence. I think I've said in the last 2 or 3 videos I've made that I think they're just sellable at the moment. They blank obviously in 25. Their next fixture is against City. That should say 26, not 27. They've simply conceded in their last 3 games. Bruno Guimaraes and Pope are suspended, 2 of their most important players, I think, to that defence. Trippier, he's probably a keep. He's got enough cash in the bank throughout the season, potential of attacking returns and bonus points, etc. But I think the likes of Botman, Shah and Burn, definitely sellable because you're really relying on clean sheets from them guys and they're not keeping them at the moment. So for me, I think it's finally time to get rid of some of those Newcastle defenders, especially considering they don't even play in 25. And finally, this is thankfully something I did in the last game week. I say thankfully because I just feel my stress levels about him starting are reduced, even though he came on and scored. Thankfully, I swapped him out for Odegaard, who on the whole I think outscored him this game week, given that he got 3 bonus and an assist. But yeah, it's Gabriel Martinelli. I think obviously he scored the winner against Villa and probably kept some cash in the bank with owners, but for me, he's just too much of a minute's risk to be keeping, especially considering Arsenal double in 25 and 27. It's a really hard case to not have a better Arsenal player than Martinelli, if that makes sense. I think if you go into each doubles with Martinelli, you're going to be consistently worried that someone like Odegaard or Saka are going to outscore him. So I think if you can make it this week, a sideways move to someone like Odegaard or Saka is definitely sensible. And yeah, you want to maximise your points you're getting from those Arsenal players, in my opinion. And I think in order to do that, you bring in Odegaard or Saka for Martinelli. Maybe this is my one sort of rogue shout of the video. The rest have been a bit boring, really, saying buy Mo Salah, get rid of Martinelli, all that's kind of obvious. But I think this week is one of those where the obvious players are the ones to bring in, apart from maybe the Wolves and Everton defenders. I just think, in my opinion, I'm seeing a lot of attraction towards the Wolves and Everton guys, but for me, I'm not seeing anything in them. I don't believe they're particularly trustworthy for clean sheets. Looking at those clean sheet odds as well, they're really poor. And they're playing good attacking teams. Like, I mean, Wolves have got Fulham and Liverpool, 2 teams that are scoring pretty much for fun in the league. Then Everton have got Villa and Arsenal, 2 teams again that are quite easily scoring goals. So I just don't see clean sheets for these teams. I think the highest one there is 31% for Everton against Villa in terms of clean sheet odds. So yeah, I just don't see it in Wolves and Everton. And yeah, even if you buy them for this week, you're not going to want them long term, right? You're going to want to get rid of them. So for me, I'd avoid them entirely, and I'd prefer a decent defender, someone like Reece James or Trent, obviously, but you know, a cheaper defender that's going to play just one fixture, who's a bit more reliable than Wolves and Everton. Except for Nathan Patterson, of course, because he's on my bench at the moment, and he's going to have to come in for me for the game week. So he's a legend, and obviously he'll score loads of points. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that, found it useful. Like I was saying, just going through that last segment there, this week is not one to be rogue or differential, I don't think. The players to bring in are quite obvious, and I've not sugarcoated it really in this video, I don't think. Other than my pick about Wolves and Everton, I'm just not sold on them. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like rating and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel if you want to see more. And I'll see you in the next video.